Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's Teacher Paul here coming at you with the next video in our walkthrough series on FreeCodeCamp's responsive web design course. Before I get started today, let me just update you on some information about the channel. If it's too boring for you, you can skip to the important steps that you're going to go through on your project. So I started this channel to cover the entirety of my school, little business I have here in Taipei, where I'm doing classes for children from kindergarten age up to 6th grade and even a little bit beyond. As a result, I was sharing all sorts of videos from, kids making little bottle rockets and stuff and little fun science experiments that we were doing. But I realized because these coding videos have kind of taken off, not in a huge way, but in a small way, I figure it would be much more tidy and much more organized to just keep this channel as pure coding instruction, pure coding teaching, and then I'll make some other channels for the other stuff that I do. So that's why you can see that the channel name has changed. On that note, thank you all very much for joining us and following along. It's been really motivational to get your comments and your likes. As a teacher, I just love sharing information and little things I've learned. I'm by no means an expert web developer, but if I can help you guys out in some way, then that's something I take a lot of value from. So today, we are going to go on to the second section, and we are going to be doing the CSS box model, building a Rothko painting. I have no idea who Rothko is. Well, I've heard the name. I guess he's a guy who paints boxes. It's not really my thing, is it? But, we'll get started on it anyway here. We'll use CSS and the box model to create a rectangular art pieces. It looks like it only has 45 steps, so I think we'll be finished with this one fairly quickly. Let's go in and have a look at what we're making. So we're going to be making quite a blurry and ugly picture using HTML and CSS. Okay, I don't see the appeal myself, but let's go ahead. So we start off with our doc type declaration. And doc type HTML, and then close off our brackets. Asks us to put in a head element, so we'll get our head in there, HEAD. We don't have the HTML element. What are we doing? See, it's very early in the morning here today. It's actually 8 o'clock in the morning when I'm recording this video. Just after my cup of coffee and just before I head off to work for the day, I thought I could get a video quickly updated here for you. I know that last week I didn't get a video up for you and I felt terrible about that, but the weekend was just so busy, so I'm really sorry about that. So there we go. We have the basic structure of our HTML in place. Just tidy it up a little bit here. Take those, give them some space. I'm going to tab that in as well. So that's what it should look like after step 1. Step 2, we're going to use a meta tag, and we're going to set the char set to UTF-8 and title to Rothko painting. Okay. Inside the head, press enter, and we'll say meta, and we'll say char set equals UTF-8. I'm going to switch my keyboard here, 1 second. There we go. This one should be a little bit less noisy. Char set equals UTF-8, and we're going to have a title as well. Title, and our title is going to be Rothko painting, ROTHKO painting. Title. Excellent. inside the body, we want an image element with a source of that link. Okay, so we remember how to do our images. We go image, and we're going to say src equals, and we're going to copy this URL here. Copy, paste, and close. We can see a little picture there showing us the layout that we're looking for today. In the CSS box model, every HTML element is treated as a box with 4 areas. Everything in HTML has these 4 areas. It's like you receive a box from your favorite online retailer, Schmamazon. The content is the item inside the box, a header or paragraph or an image element. Change the source to diagram 2. I'm going to do that quickly here by just typing 2. Okay, so what's the difference? Okay, so yeah, here in this first one, you can see the blue box. That's showing you the content. But outside the content, you can see in diagram 2, we have padding, and then we have a border. Content is surrounded by a space called padding, similar to how bubble wrap separates an item from the box around it. Think of the border like the cardboard box your item was shipped in. Change the source to diagram 3. And now we start to look at margin. Margin is the area outside the box and can be used to control the space between the other boxes or elements. Here, the bottom element has a larger top margin, pushing it further down the page. Now you understand the box model. Let's get started on the Rothko painting. Well, let's have a look at it again. We'll go over it one more time. So we have the first one here. That blue box, that is your stuff, okay? So that blue box could be your heading, H1 tag, right? With page title up at the top. Around that heading, you would have your padding and your border. The padding is like extra space, and then the border is the box around that space. And then outside of your padding and outside of your border, that's where you're going to find your margin. And your margin can be used to push the boxes further apart from each other. Oh, what am I supposed to do here? Remove the image element. Okay, we'll get that removed for you now. Right. Next challenge. Add a div in the body. Set the class to canvas. Oh. Div class equals canvas. This should be second nature for you guys by now, I think. And I'm just going to close my div as well. Control and enter. And now, before you can start styling the div, you need to link your CSS. Pop quiz, do you guys remember how to link the CSS? We need to do it in the head, and we're going to do it using a link element. And the link is going to be set to href equals styles.css. Oh, I wrote href. It should be href. And the relationship is going to be style sheet. And then we can close that. Excellent. Step number 8. Even though your div has no text, it is still a box. Write a CSS rule that uses .canvas and set its width to 500. Okay. So we have the class canvas. We're going to target that using our CSS. I'm going to set its width to 500 px. And now, just so you can see that that's actually working, background color, and let's just make it black for now. Oh, So right now we can't see anything. How peculiar. Any of you have any idea why we're not able to see anything? Well, right now our box has no height. So just to make it clear here, I'm going to set the height to be 500 pixels as well. And now you can see that we have a box. I'll get rid of those 2 extra steps. I'm sure they're going to go over them with us anyway. Write a CSS rule that uses canvas class selector. We already did step 8. Step number 9, now add a height property and set it to 600 pixels. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Change the background color to 4D0F00. Background color. Doink. So we get that kind of reddy brown color. Step number 11. Every painting needs a frame. Put the canvas div inside another div and give that div the class of frame. Okay. So I'm just wrapping the canvas div. I'm wrapping that inside another div, which is given the class of frame. And I've broken my code, but that should be correct now. Write new rule using the frame class selector. Use border shorthand to give the frame element a solid black border with a width of 50. Okay, dot frame. Open our brackets. I'm going to say border. Order. And we're going to say 50 px. Flat, solid, black. Like that, right? Here we go. The frame is too wide. Set its width to 500 pixels. Okay? Width to 500 pixels. There we go. Use padding to adjust the spacing within an element. In frame, use padding to increase the space between the frame and the canvas elements by 50. We set our padding here to be 50 px and let's see what happens. Now we have some white space between the frame and the canvas. Let me just remove that for a moment. 0. You can see that the frame is getting bigger. Frame is getting bigger, so the space is added in. It's additive, it's not subtractive. Use margins to adjust the spacing outside of an element. So give the frame element vertical margin of 20 and horizontal of auto. Okay, margin. We'll say 20 px auto. And that centers our frame on the page nicely. Add a new div element inside the canvas and give it the value of 1, the class of 1. Okay, so let's open a new div. Class equals 1. Write a rule that targets dot 1 and set its width to 425. Dot 1. Dot 1, hard to type in the morning. Width, we're going to set that to 425 pixels. Just like that. Now set the height to 150 pixels. Height, ht 150px. Now give it a background color of EFB762. Background color FB762. I am going to give it the old hashtag in case it complains. So we have our first element of the painting, but it's all pushed to the left hand side, whereas we want it to be centered. Use margins to move that element on the canvas. Give it a vertical margin of 20 and horizontal of auto. Margin 20 pixels, auto. And that should push our box into the center. Now that one is centered horizontally, but the top margin is pushing past the canvas and onto the frame's border, moving the entire canvas down. Add some padding to the canvas element. Padding, and we're going to set our padding to 1 pixel. That's going to make sure that it stays inside of our canvas, which is where we want it. Adding 1 pixel of padding to the top, bottom, left, and right of the canvas. Change this dimensions to 502 by 602. Replace padding with overflow and set to hidden. Yeah, so we've changed the size very slightly, and we don't want to do that. Instead, we're going to say overflow hidden. And so that means we get to maintain the size, but it's not going to go outside of the box that it is in. Add another div with a class of 2. I'm going to take my 1 div and paste it here. PWO. 24. CSS rule and set its width 475. Dot 2 width, and we're setting that to 475px. And now set its height to 200. I'm going quickly today. I think it's because here we're just looking at the theory. I would recommend all of you to play around with this and practice with it to try and see what the different things do. But it's nothing we haven't done before. It's just kind of explaining the theory of this model to you. Set the background color. Repetition is important when you're learning anything new, and it's doubly so for code. You want this to be second nature to you when you're actually coding in real life. The only way to get there is to do it again and again and again. Now center by setting its margin to auto. Okay, we can get that done here, margin. So that centers the red div on the page. And now let's have another div which has a class of 3. And I think we'll be applying some styling to that one as well. You don't always have to use pixels when styling an element. You can also use percentages. And we know this. We've done this before, right? So let's target .3. We'll set its width. What do they ask for? They ask for 91%. The 91%. And set the height to be 20%. 28%. I spelled height wrong. Maybe I need another cup of coffee, eh? 31. Change the background color to B20403. Background color. And I will go over here and put my hash in, even though I don't really need to anymore. There we go. So we get a brighter red down there then. Center the 3 element by setting its margin to be auto. it's helpful to have your margins push in one direction. In this case, the bottom margin of the one element pushes 2 down 20 pixels. So what they're saying here is that the first box is pushing the second box down. In the to selector, use margin, set the top margin to 0, horizontal to auto, and bottom to 20. Okay, so I think for this one, we're going to go 0, auto, 0, auto, it goes from top to the right to the bottom, I think. I might have to go to W3 schools. I was hoping I wouldn't have to go there today, but no, I've got it right. And that's tidied up our page, something lovely. Step number 34. Colors and shapes of your paintings are too sharp. It doesn't look like a Rothko painting at all. Use filter to blur the painting by 2 pixels. Now, you see, they're being quite tricky here. You've never been taught how to blur a painting before, but you know CSS. So you know that it's probably going to be something like filter and blur 2 pixels, right? Let's see if that works. I'm not seeing anything. No, it doesn't work, but they give us a little hint down here. If you didn't see the hint, or if there was no hint there, what would you do? Of course, you would go to W3 schools. W3 schools. There's no such thing as not knowing something when it comes to coding. Everything is there for you. The information is there, especially for this kind of stuff. So I could type CSS blur. So you can imagine I'm in a situation where someone has asked me to make something blurry, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember how to do that. Well, then I can come here and look, I can see it straight away. Filter, blur, and we have to use the brackets to tell it how much. So all I was wrong by was just need to put this here and this here. And now, yes, it does look blurry. Wonder what it looks like if I blur it to 20 pixels. Oh, kind of hurts my eyes. Okay, let's go back to 2. Number 35. Create a rule that targets 1 and 2 to increase their blur by 1 pixel. Okay, and go .1. Oh, my cursor. .1, comma, .2. Filter. Blur. 3 pixels. Oh, it should be 1 pixel. Okay, I thought it said to, yeah, increase their blur effect by 1 pixel. Oh, so this is going to add 1 more pixel of blur on top of the other one. Okay. Now increase the blur of .3 by 2 pixels. .3. Oh, we already have it selected, so we don't need to do that. Filter, blur by 2 pixels, like so. The rectangles are too small and their edges don't have the soft quality of a painting. Set some box shadow to .1. No problem. We are inside .1, so we just say box shadow. It's really good, guys. I know you could go up and you could copy it, but it's good to get the hang of just typing things out. That gets you used to the rhythm, and you won't always have guidelines you can just copy, right? So I think you probably felt that when you did the last project. Okay, so we've added some box shadow to the first box. use the same box shadow declaration for 2, but change the color. Okay, so now, yes, let's be lazy and copy, paste, and we're going to change color to this. Select that and paste. It does make it look a little bit nicer. And add a box shadow to 3. Okay, so let's try 3. Now careful, the box shadow dimensions are 5 pixels instead of 3. We change that to 5, change that to 5. And this needs to be hashtag B20403. Semicolon. Corners of the rectangles are too sharp. Increase dot 1 by using border radius. Yes, border radius is one of my... I don't know, if I had to pick a favorite CSS property, border radius would be high up there. I love it. I know. I don't know why. So we just set this to 9 pixels. And now we have some rounded corners. And now for 2, set its top left and bottom right to 8. Top right and top left to 9. So here, border radius. And we're going to say, let me think about this. Top left is going to be the first one. Top left is going to be 8 pixels. Next one is going to be 10 pixels, and then 8 pixels, and then 10 pixels. Wonderful. And now step number 42. I think we're nearly finished. Border radius can take up to 4 values from the top left, top right, and bottom left corners. Round the top left corner of 3 by 30 pixels, the top right by 25, the bottom right by 60, and the bottom left by 12. Okay, so we again use border radius. And we're going to set the first one to 30 pixels, the second one by 25 pixels, the third one is 60 pixels, and the final one there is 12 pixels. So now we have lots of different sized radiuses. 43. Rotate each angle to give them more of an imperfect and kind of hand-painted effect. So transform is another fantastic property. When you're doing animations in CSS, you will use this a lot. So we're going to use transform and we're going to use rotate. And for rotate, we're going to say 0.6 DEG. It's lowercase, right? DEG, 0.6 DEG. So I know that already, but of course you guys don't know that. You might have had to go and look it up. 0.6 DEG. Oh, minus. Okay, sorry. Counterclockwise. I didn't see that, but yes. So that's going to make it so it's not straight. And you can see that coming into effect up there now. 2 is going to be clockwise by 0.4. Okay, so we'll copy this, paste, get rid of our minus and change the 6 to be a 4, Control and Enter, and off we go. And rotate 3 counterclockwise by 0.2. So I'm going to steal it from 1 because we already have the minus, paste, and 0.2. And there we go. We have finished our next project. Guys, a huge thank you to you guys for joining me. If you liked the video, I'd love to get a little click on the like button if I helped you out in any way. And maybe even hit the subscribe button so you can see when we make our next project, which is going to be a little bit more interesting. And that is the Flexbox photo gallery. Till next time though, from me to you, to your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, cats and dogs, and peanut butter sandwiches, a big thank you everyone, and goodbye.